Hello and welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to take a look at a means of marking, and specifically picked up one of the Klein's new mechanical pencils called, it's in their Skribes line. They have markers and pencils and all kinds of other stuff. So I picked this up and we're going to give it a go. It's supposed to be a mechanical pencil. It's got graphite inserts. We also picked up the all black inserts and the colored inserts as well, and we're going to take a look at everything here and see what it's all about. If you're keeping track, made in China. Okay, so we got this thing open, and first off, it seems pretty nice. It has a nicely made clip that, if you look, it has the zigzag pattern thing there going that allows it to kind of lock in your pocket. It's kind of nice. Okay, so there is some tubing to get down into the pencil. Okay, so there's our pencil itself, and it is like every other mechanical pencil that you just push in the mechanism and get it to work. You can slide it back in once you have it where you want it to be. I would say an advantage to this is, if this stays in your pocket well, you could pull this right out of your pocket and leave this. You don't have to pull the whole thing out, obviously. It'd be a little inconvenient. This is triangular shaped so that it is roll resistant. You can see once it starts rolling, it'll probably keep rolling. You get the idea. This bench is a little bit not level, so that's a good representation. I would say if you set it down, it'll mostly stay, but if you start it rolling, she'll go. But it's pretty decent. The graphite has a pretty good point on it, and they include a point sharpener here that we'll take a look at under the microscope. We'll look at how that works in a little bit more detail in a bit. But overall, it doesn't feel super cheap. It's pretty solid. I see it's relatively easy to get to the graphite. Now, one thing I'm curious about is how this will take a fall, if it will, the graphite will break in it. This cap is indeed keyed to keep it only going in one way. So this is about a, I don't know, let's say this is about a 2-foot fall. I'm going to drop it here on the bench. I don't have anything broken there. Now, I know on the job site things might fall a little bit further than that. I'll hold it out and drop it directly on the shop floor. We still don't have any broken pieces, so that's encouraging. So let's take a look at what they send here. It's interesting, these are in kind of singular tubes instead of, I guess the idea is maybe you'd stash this tube in your work carry, and then you have your piece of graphite. A decent length. There you can see, compared to the tool itself. I'll be curious to see how this thing holds up on the job site. I do like that there's a lot of options of these out there, and this particular version takes 2.8 millimeter graphite, so I don't think you're beholden to Klein to get additional graphite. You should be able to get it from other manufacturers as long as you get 2.8 millimeter graphite. Okay, so we're going to be in and out of video. The previous version of video that we shot got corrupted because the battery died in the microscope. One thing about this Viva microscope is it does not tell you the battery levels. So, lost track of it, battery died, corrupted everything on the SD card. So, we're going to get into looking at what some worn graphite looks like with this pencil. Now, I have been using this pencil for 2 weeks at work, and I do like it, and we're going to be in and back and forth between the original recording and this recording. I'm actually wearing different gloves. Many of you may be overjoyed at that, and a different shirt, so it may be obvious when we go back and forth. But we're going to take a look here. This is what the graphite looks like after it's been used a bit. Now, this was sharpened, and we'll take a look at sharpening it, but it does mark down. I do not know if this graphite is equal to like a number 2 or what the hardness level of the graphite is. You can see there what it looks like. It gets worn down as you would expect. Okay, so let's take a look at the tool overall under the microscope, and you can see that it's made very well. It's nothing that's overly complex, but it has good quality to it. It's nice and rigid, it's not flimsy. You can see there's a little bit of a notch here. I'm not quite sure what that would be for, and it has cutouts in it there. It might be part of the assembling process. The tool itself has painted on Klein Tools with the Skribes branding. There's our part number. Now, this might be a little bit fainter because I've been using this for 2 weeks. Some texturing here to help grab onto it. There's our Klein Tools. It's raised. There's our mechanism. You can see some wear marks from being pushed in and out. But overall, everything looks very nice. It is a triangular shaped tool, so it isn't prone to rolling, but obviously once you start it rolling, it'll continue. Let's pull out the graphite here. Take a look at how it looks up close. Now you can see there's some marks in it there, and that is from the, I guess we'll call it a collet in the pencil, grabbing onto the graphite. And you can see as we move down the graphite, you don't really see any of those marks. You just see that graphite grain structure. So that's how that looks. Now let's get this back in the pencil, which we should just be able to push the back of it in, shove that right back up into the pencil. Okay, so let's take a look at the holder now, and we'll leave this under our microscope, and we'll start at the very end. You can see this is dirty and scratched up from the 2 weeks I've had it in my pocket. But it's got the paint marking on it here, and it's got the raised Klein marking here. And here you can kind of see what they're doing to try and have it catch in your pocket. It has this kind of sawtooth thing going on. I think the idea is that that grabs your pocket a little bit better, and they have the classic squiggly thing there that they did. There's some texturing in it here to get some grip on it. And down here at this end, we have the sharpener, which has a replaceable blade in it. Looks like your normal knife blade. And the tip end that you would put your graphite in through. Now, before we go and sharpen it, what I'd like to do is show you how this is a coarser tip, and we'll just get on our piece of cardboard stock here, and we'll just mark it here with a decent size line. You can see there. Now let's sharpen this. And when you sharpen this, you have to stick out on your graphite a little bit further than you normally would. In fact, let's compare this to a pick that I have here, just a normal pick that you would use for cleaning or hooking things or what have you in the shop. You can see the graphite is considerably wider than the pick at this point in time. Let's go ahead and sharpen this, and we'll see that this effortlessly peels off layers of that graphite. And all I'm doing is turning it and pushing in slightly. It doesn't take much to do this. In fact, it turns very easy. Graphite's very soft. And then you get to a point where you can see there's no more shavings coming out, and the pencil turns very easily. That's the furthest we can go with it. Dump out our shavings. You can see self-clears very well. And now if we take a look at our point and compare to this pick, you can see that the point is much sharper. So we'll get that back into our pencil. And then if you recall our mark with the larger graphite, we will now make a mark with the sharpened graphite. None of that's really profound. That's kind of how graphite is. But I did want to show sharpening it and a little bit of an illustration to the difference between and how the sharpener works. Okay, so let's get into the other parts to the pencil that Klein sells, and those would be the all black graphite here, and it's just 10 sticks of 2.8 millimeter graphite for the pencil. They're all identical to what we already looked at. You can see they have kind of a sort of sharpened end from factory, but there's really nothing other than 10 pieces of graphite. That is the one. And then the other, and these are mostly kind of like colored pencils. And we'll take a look at how these mark. But let's take a look at these. Now, in the previous video that I lost the footage from, we did sharpen one of these and test it. So we'll get into that right here in a bit. But you can see, and these look very, very much like colored pencils. So if you're familiar with the waxy properties of colored pencils, that's what we have going here. And of course we have some sticks of graphite as well. But that's what we have. Now let's get into the colored pencils. And let's get out a white. They are a little finicky to get out of this container, but we'll get one out here. And we'll just take this without it in the pencil and go right for the sharpener. Let's get the sharpener in focus. There we go. And we're just going to twirl this around and sharpen it. You can see effortlessly flaking that off. And we get a nice point out of it. Now, I did just break that, so I would say you would be much better off if you sharpened in the pencil. Let's do that again. This time, we'll leave it in the pencil. And see if we have a better result. So now we can twirl that in. I do believe that may have slipped a little bit. Maybe not. So this, you do not get the feeling of it stopping. You can just keep shoving it in. So the graphite, you actually feel this stop, whereas the colored pencils, you can just keep going to town sharpening. So you may want to check to make sure that you got it sharp. Let's use our blower to clean up our mess here. That little thing is very handy. Now, let's make some marks on a few different things here. We'll use the white, and we'll take a look at what we get with it. We'll take a white and we'll mark some EMT. And you can see here, you have that very textured, like colored pencil thing going. It's very, I guess I would say, waxy. That's a trait of it that you generally have. Let's go to another color. Let's get a red one out here. And we have our white mark. Let's go to a red mark here. And you can see the same thing. It's contrasting nicely, but we also have that waxy finish. Let's change over to a yellow. And the yellow, we're just going to go ahead and make a mark here. So we have them all kind of right next to each other. And you can see that kind of waxy mark is still there. And let's go to our straight graphite now and see exactly what we got going with that. So now this mark should be a little bit more set, and you can see it's not as flaky as these others. Now let's go ahead and wipe these with a glove and see which one we can kind of get rid of. So the black is mostly gone. The yellow still kind of in the galvanizing there, you can see it. Same with the red. The white kind of going away. I bet if we really played around with the white, we could kind of make that disappear, which is kind of nice. If you're marking your conduits, you can kind of wipe off your marks. Not necessarily a bad thing. I hope this was interesting. I apologize for the not so perfect continuity in the video, but we kind of, rather than reshoot the whole thing, we kind of melted two together here. But it does give me the advantage now of having a little bit of use with this, and I do like using it. It's you don't have to sharpen it that frequently to use it. It stays relatively sharp depending on how much you're writing or what you're writing on. But it's not bad, and to resharpen it is a breeze. You just stick it in here and you turn it a little bit and it's sharp. So that's nothing really difficult with it. If you have the holder with you, you always have your sharpener with you. It's in and out of the holder very easily. It's not, it doesn't fall out. I will say that to get it out, it's still new, but to get it out, you do almost have to hold it and pull it out. If you just pull on the pencil, you pull the whole holder off of your pocket. But it's still new and snapping very well, so that may change in future. seems to be holding up relatively well. We got marks on it, but it's been getting used, and you buy tools to use them. You don't buy them to have as a museum piece. You don't want to beat them up, but you don't necessarily get upset when you use them and they get wear on them. The mechanical mechanism seems very good. You can see it's just working, and I haven't had any slippage with it. It's very positive in its lock. It doesn't push up in, and we haven't had any of them break. I have dropped it a few times at work. Haven't had anything break yet, graphite wise, inside the pencil. So that's nice. I am going to see if I can get some other colors, because 2.8 millimeter is pretty standard. It's nothing unique really to just Klein, which I do like. It's something that you can get 2.8 millimeter either graphite, or you can get the different colors and you can put them in this and use them. Or even if you have other makes that are 2.8 millimeter, you don't have to stock multiple different sizes for different manufacturer pencils. So hopefully this was interesting. Took a look at the Skribes Mechanical Pencil. I really do think this is good for construction and or maintenance, or just use in the trades. It's a fairly robust pencil. I've had so many other pencils over the years, and it's one of those things where you go with a carpenter pencil, sites don't allow knives to sharpen them. There's just a whole thing that goes along with all of it. This, you have a sharpener built into it. You'd have to be very determined to hurt yourself with this sharpener. So hopefully that would be okay with a normal safety guy. And you can have a little bit more of a robust pencil rather than your 0.07 millimeter snapping off when you go to mark stuff if you're not careful. So thanks for watching. Do you have one of these? Were you eyeballing one of these? Is there anything that I should go over if I bring this thing up again in a future video that you have questions about? Let me know in the comments below. If you have one, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? I really find those things interesting. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.